human ear. Now we shall talk about the structure and working of human ear. Human ear is basically divided into three parts now. They are external ear, middle ear and internal ear. Internal ear. External ear consists of ear pinna, ear canal and eardrum. Eardrum. Middle ear is also called tympanic cavity. The tympanic cavity is enclosed in temporal bone and it consists of Mess and Eustachian tube. It consists of Mess and Eustachian tube. Now internal ear, it has got two parts now. Bony labyrinth, membranous labyrinth. Bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. The bony labyrinth in turn consists of semicircular canals, vestibule and cochlea. The outer bony part is called bony labyrinth, that is divisible into semicircular canals, vestibule and cochlea. Internal ear is also called labyrinth. Now we shall talk about each part in detail with a few important points which can be asked in EAMCET, Comet K, EAPMT, JIPMER, AIMS, so on and so forth. Now to start with the ear pinna, a human ear pinna is vestigial. It has got a vestigial muscles of ear pinna are called auricular muscles. Auricular muscles. Apart from this, it is also made up of elastic cartilage. The muscles of the ear pinna are called auricular muscles. They are vestigial, and apart from the muscles, it is also made up of elastic cartilage. It is covered by an outer skin here, and internal it has got an elastic cartilage and auricular muscles. Auricular muscles are vestigial. Now ear canal is also called external auditory meatus. External auditory meatus. Now this external auditory meatus has got hair and ceruminous glands. Hair, lots of hair and ceruminous glands are present. Ceruminous glands are the modified sweat or sudorific glands. Ceruminous glands are the modified sweat or sudorific gland, and they secrete earwax or cerumen. They secrete earwax or cerumen. The next is eardrum. Now eardrum, it is also called tympanum. It is made up of connective tissue. It's made up of connective tissue covered by skin outside and mucous membrane inside. Okay, tympanum, outside externally it is covered by skin, internally it is covered by mucous membrane here now. Now eardrum or eardrum or tympanum, which is the derivative of endoderm, this is the important point, EAMCET point of view, remember children. It is derived from endodermal layer and it is meant for receiving the sound vibrations from external ear. It receives sound vibrations from external ear through external auditory meatus and conveys them to internal ear through ear ossicles. Now, the middle ear, as I made a mention earlier, it is also called tympanic cavity. It has got Miss and Eustachian tube. Now, what is Miss here now? The ear ossicles of the middle ear are collectively called Miss. Collectively called Miss, where M stands for malleus, I stands for incus, S stands for stapes. Malleus, incus, stapes are the three ear ossicles present in the middle ear, a chain of bony pieces here now connected to each other. The malleus is connected to tympanic membrane and the stirrup, that is stapes, is connected to the internal ear. Now malleus is hammer shaped, incus is anvil shaped, stapes is stirrup shape. So that the shape of ear ossicles here now. And remember a clue to remember this here now. The shape of Miss is MAIQSH, Master of Arts, Intelligent Quotient and Simple Harmony. So these are the shapes of the internal. These are the again. Then regarding origin also, remember EAMCET point of view and other exam point of view, origin is also important. I'll give a clue, dear students, to remember this. Malleus is a modification of, shape is, I repeat once again here now, the origin of Miss is, the shape of Miss is has, the shape of Miss is has, and the origin of Miss is, malleus is quadrate bone. I repeat, the shape is, malleus shape is hammer shaped here now, and the incus shape is anvil, stirrup shape is, shape of the stapes is stirrup. So I repeat once again this concept, remember, I shall repeat once again from ear ossicles. There are three small bony pieces embedded in the middle ear, you call them ear ossicles here now. They are malleus, incus and stapes. Their shape is, malleus is hammer shaped, incus is anvil shaped, stapes is stirrup shaped. Now how do you remember here now? In order to remember this, you should get a clue here now. MIS, shape is has. The shape is has. That is, M is hammer shaped, I is anvil shaped, S is stirrup shaped, stapes is stirrup shaped, incus is anvil shaped, malleus is hammer shaped. So you have to remember, remember this clue here now. In case you get a question, you'll be able to answer easily. The shape of ear ossicles is M, H, I, A and S, SS. That is the shape. That is, if you take here now, this is has, this is has, and this is miss. Okay. So these are ear ossicles and this is shape. Okay. Then I'll give another clue here now in order to remember the origin of ear ossicles. So these are the ear ossicles and this is the origin. Now how do you remember the origin here now? MA, Master of Arts, IQ, Intelligent Quotient, SH, Simple Harmony. Now you have to remember this here now. So malleus is modification of articular bone of lower jaw. Incus is modification of quadrate bone of upper jaw. Stapes is a modification of hyomandibular bone. Hyomandibular bone. Okay, stapes is a modification of hyomandibular bones. How do you remember here now? MA, that is MAIQSH. So with regard to shape and origin, they are the most two important concepts, EAMCET and all other exam point of view. Remember students, now, how do you remember? What is the clue to remember the shape? You not remember the shape, you just remember miss and has, that is a shape. You not remember the origin, you just remember MAIQ and SH. That is, malleus is a modification of articular bone of LJ, incus is a modification of quadrate bone of UJ, and stapes is a modification of hyomandibular bone. Then apart from this, middle ear also has a eustachian tube. The middle ear communicates with the pharynx through eustachian tube, and eustachian tube helps in maintaining equal pressure on tympanum. It helps in maintaining equal pressure on tympanum. Now internal ear. Internal ear is also called labyrinth. It has got two parts, as I made a mention earlier, bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. Bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth here. Now bony labyrinth consists of three parts: semicircular canals, vestibule and cochlea. The inner soft tissue that are embedded inside the bony labyrinth can be called membranous labyrinth here now. Okay, the membranous labyrinth of vestibule has utriculus and sacculus. Okay, the membranous labyrinth of the vestibule has utriculus and sacculus. Now to start with semicircular canals, there are three semicircular canals. One is at right angles to the other two. What is the mode of arrangement? Each one is at right angles to the other two. Then at the base of semicircular canals, now there are like this, three semicircular canals are present. Like this, there are three semicircular canals are present here now. Now each one is at right angles to the other two here now. Now semicircular, there are two vertical semicircular canals and one is horizontal. Two vertical and one is horizontal. Now both the vertical semicircular canals communicate with each other through a structure called crus commune. The two verticals communicate with each other through a narrow structure called crus commune. And towards the end of each semicircular canal, a Solon structure is present like this. The Solon structure that lies towards the end of semicircular canal is called ampulla. The Solon structures which are present towards the end of each semicircular canal is called ampulla. Within the ampulla, the sensory structure that is embedded is called crista. So crista ampullaris is the sense organ of semicircular canals. So I repeat, there are three semicircular canals. Each semicircular canal is at right angles to the other two. There are two vertical semicircular canals and one horizontal semicircular canal. Two vertical semicircular canals communicate with each other through crus commune, and there is another one called horizontal semicircular canal. Towards the end of each semicircular canal, a Solon structure called ampulla is present. Within the ampulla, the sensory structure is called crista. The sensory structure is called crista. Then what is the function of semicircular canal? The semicircular canals are responsible for movement of the body, that is movement of the head, and gyrational acceleration. Gyrational acceleration and movement of the head are under the control of semicircular canals. That is movement while walking here now or performing various activities, there is a slight movement of the head in sideward direction or upward and downward direction. Those movements of the head are under the control of semicircular canals. The same time, gyrational movement, when you go around in a particular object here now, those round movements are also under the control of semicircular canals. So gyrational acceleration and movement of the head are controlled by the cristae present within the ampulla of semicircular canals. Now, the second part of bony labyrinth is called vestibule. The vestibule internally, it has got a membranous labyrinth. That membranous labyrinth consists of outer utriculus and inner sacculus. So there are two vertical semicircular canals like this with ampulla, and there is a horizontal semicircular canal, and this is followed by a structure called utriculus, and utriculus in turn is followed by another structure called sacculus. Now sacculus and utriculus are put together called vestibule. These utriculus and sacculus are also called otolithic organs. They are also called otolithic organs. The sensory structures embedded within the utriculus and sacculus are called maculae. So dear students, remember the sensory structures of semicircular canals are called ampullae, cristae, whereas the sensory structures of utriculus and sacculus are called maculae. Macula utricularis and macula saccularis, you call it here now. Then what are the functions here now? Sacculus is responsible for vertical acceleration. That is while climbing the staircase or while moving in the lift here now, your body equilibrium is maintained by sacculus. Vertical acceleration is under control of sacculus. And utriculus controls linear acceleration. Utriculus controls linear, that is while moving in a car, horizontal movement of the body is under the control of utriculus. Vertical movement of the body is under the control of sacculus here now. The organ of hearing of bony labyrinth is called cochlea. Cochlea is a 3 tubes in 1 tube structure here now. When you take cross section of the cochlea here now, it consists of three tube-like structures, where the upper one is called scala vestibuli, the middle one is called scala media, the inner one is called scala tympani. So it has got 3 tubes here now, tube-like structures. The upper chamber is called scala vestibuli, the middle chamber is called scala media, the inner one is called scala tympani. Now the scala media and scala tympani are separated from each other by basilar membrane. Scala vestibuli and scala media are separated from each other by Reissner's membrane. Scala vestibuli and scala media are separated from each other by Reissner's membrane, and scala media and scala tympani are separated from each other by basilar membrane. Scala vestibuli opens into scala tympani through a narrow communication called helicotrema. Now within the scala media, the organ of hearing, like this, then organ of hearing called organ of Corti is present. Organ of Corti is present within the scala media. Now this organ of Corti has got hair cells, the sensory cells called hair cells. The hair cells are provided with stereocilia. They are provided with stereocilia, and towards the base, towards inner side, they are provided with the sensory hair-like structures called stereocilia. Towards the base, they have sensory hair-like structures called collectively formed tectorial membrane. So I repeat once again here now. The organ of hearing that lies within the scala media is called organ of Corti. Organ of Corti has got sensory cells called hair cells. The hair cells towards their free end are provided with stereocilia. Towards their base, they are provided with a sensory hair-like membrane called tectorial membrane that is responsible for conveying the sound vibrations to the medulla oblongata. Now the scala vestibuli opens into middle ear through an aperture called fenestra ovalis, which is also called oval window. The scala vestibuli of cochlea part communicates with middle ear through an aperture called fenestra ovalis or oval window. The scala tympani opens into eustachian tube part of the middle ear, through an aperture called fenestra rotunda, which is also called round window. Okay, so scala tympani opens into eustachian tube part of the middle ear through fenestra rotunda or round window, and scala vestibuli opens into middle ear through an aperture called fenestra ovalis or oval window. Then one more important point, remember students, scala vestibuli is filled with perilymph, and even scala tympani is also filled with perilymph, whereas scala media is filled with endolymph. Scala media is filled with cerebrospinal fluid called endolymph. So the entire vestibule part is also filled with perilymph, that is sacculus, utriculus are also filled with perilymph. Now the vestibule, that is sacculus and utriculus and semicircular canals, both of them constitute vestibular apparatus. Which is innervated by vestibular branch of auditory nerve. Auditory nerve, that is cranial nerve here now. It has got two branches, one is called vestibular branch, the other one is called cochlear branch. So vestibular branch of auditory nerve innervates the vestibular apparatus, which consists of vestibule and semicircular canals. Then the entire cochlea is under the control of cochlear branch of auditory nerve here now. Auditory nerve, which is a 8th cranial nerve here now. Auditory nerve is an 8th cranial nerve. So this 8th cranial nerve has got two branches here now, vestibular branch innervating the vestibular apparatus, cochlear branch innervating the organ of hearing called cochlea. And this is the cross section of cochlea with the three chambers, scala vestibuli, scala media and scala tympani. And the main organ of hearing which is embedded within the cochlea is organ of Corti. Okay, so these are the most important points with regard to ear. Dear students, you may get any point from this particular lesson in EAMCET, JIPMER, COMET K, AMPMT or any other competitive exam here now. So you need to be thorough with all these important points which are mentioned under the topic human ear.